PWHustle Networks present PWR at the Movies. Join the Professor, Tommy Wonder, and JB as they discuss the greatest pro wrestling moments in movie history.
Is there such a thing as a five-man tag team?
Bring them on, Daddy.
No use in the jail!
Hulkamania's gonna run wild. No way out this time, Smith. Now we're cooking.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
What's going on there, Reflectionites out there on the YouTubes, on the PWHustle YouTube page? What is going on there? Because you know what? You are seeing us. You are seeing us live and in living color on the PWHustle YouTube pages. But what is also going on to the PWHustleites, to the Reflectionites on the PWHustle, on the pod beams? What's going on to the Big Vitoites on the Big Vito brands on the pod beams and on the Twitches that you can see us? You're seeing the beautiful face of the glorious one. You're seeing the beautiful face of the magnanimous one, but you're seeing the beautiful face of the only objective man in the IWC, YWC. I am that man, the Professor Chabeva Cruz, welcoming you to the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast as we go back to the movies. But I'm not here at the boardrooms alone. I'm not here to enjoy the exotics that Greenpeace 420 has given us. I am not here to enjoy the coke and the blow that Donnie of Destruction has given us and Phillips Got Wood has given us. I am here with my man, the masked man, Cavalier Cortez himself. The man, the myth, the legend. If you don't know who Cavalier Cortez is, Google it, Reflectionites, because you know what? He's the best wrestler that you've never heard about. But I know the man underneath that mask. I'll let him identify himself. He is your friend and mine. Well, I don't know if he's your friend and mine until he says who he is under the mask, but this is Cavalier Cortez. What is up, my friend? How are you doing?
My favorite part of all of that was you said Calavera every kind of way you could except for Calavera. And Calavera, this is not Calavera Cortez. It is his profile picture now on the Twitter. But I did this.
I know the voice. Wait a minute. The voice is a familiar, Reflectionites. I did not know who Calavera Cortez is until I heard the voice. Do you know, Reflectionites? Go ahead, Calavera.
Matos Locos forever. But listen. I wore this mask as a tribute to one of the guys that I watch wrestling somewhere. I have an action figure of him I would have brought up here, but this past week, the Patriot passed away, Del Wilkes. I was down here getting ready to do the show looking for a hat to throw on this horseshoe I got for a haircut, and I saw my mask, and I thought, you know, I'm going to put this on and do this for Del Wilkes. He was my Facebook friend twice. It was his first one got hacked, and then when he started a new one, he was my Facebook friend on that. Really, really nice guy and man of God. I never got to meet him in person, but this is a guy who I cheered on in global wrestling. I was happy when he came to the WWE. He did some time in WCW, and he was part of that awesome angle, to me, the greatest angle ever in the history of wrestling, where Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation were cheered in Canada and booed in the States, and the Patriot was part of that, getting booed in Canada and cheered in the States. But rest in peace, Del Wilkes. This is why I wore the mask. You're the one told me he passed away, Professor, and then I went and checked his page.
Yes, I did. And for the Reflectionites that don't know, on the YouTubes and the Twitches, it is the Tommy Wonder. Underneath he has broken every rule in wrestling. He has revealed himself, and it was not no, loser loses the mask kind of match. He broke every kind of kayfabe, but of course, wait a minute, why you still have your mask on, man? You look prettier without a mask. Oh, wait, that's your face. I'm sorry. All right. But anyway, Reflectionites, welcome. We're going back to the movies, TW, and you know what? For this episode here on the PWR Podcast at PWHustle@podbean.com, shameless plug, we are going to go back to the 80s. We're going to go back to rockin' wrestling. We're going to go back to what Vince McMahon was trying to do. The blueprint that Vince McMahon had when he chose Hulk Hogan to become the WWF World Heavyweight Champion. And we talked about this during the Rivalries edition of Sergeant Slaughter and Iron Sheik. Vince McMahon chose Hulk Hogan to be his centerpiece. He chose Hulk Hogan to be the man, the face of WWF. And Hulk Hogan's responsibility, thanks to Vince McMahon's, marketing, strategy, everything. Put him on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Put him on Saturday Night Live with himself and Mr. T. Put him on MTV hosting those videos of Michael Jackson, and also making sure that he is on a top 10 show in 1985 on NBC, The A-Team, starring Mr. T as B.A. Baracus, starring George Papard as Hannibal, starring Dirk Benedict as Face. TW,
Dwight Schultz is Murdoch, man.
Dwight Schultz is Murdoch. It's not like I forgot. I know who Murdoch is. I probably forgot.
How do you say 3 out of the 4?
Because the 3 are the most important. Murdoch, I never liked Murdoch.
Every episode, they're breaking him out of the nut house. Every single episode. And then put him back. Then they're done with him by the end. They go, you got to go back.
All I'm just saying is Murdoch is the stepchild that I don't care about. And the 3 that I named are the most important.
His name is Dwight Schultz. I don't even know if that's his name.
Well, we're going to call him Dwight Schultz here, but PW, before we even get into this episode, as we go into the movies again, I always love going to the movies with you because we relive our childhood. We relive our nostalgia here on the PWR Podcast. And of course, we're going to roast this episode because there's certain things that, kayfabe-wise do not make a lot of logistical sense, but we'll get into that as we delve deeper into this episode of going to the movies on the PWR Podcast. But what say you as a nostalgic boy yourself, knowing that Hulk Hogan is on a show like A-Team on NBC? Because we know now, hindsight of 2020, the deal that Vince McMahon had with NBC, in particular with Dick Ebersol, the man who was the brainchild with himself and Vince McMahon to create Saturday Night's Main Event. So this is, again, this is a great relationship between Vince McMahon and NBC to bring WWF to the masses, to bring WWF to Americana as the lexicon, those 3 letters that mean something for the last 30, 40 years. What say you, TW?
It's funny. I remember as a kid looking very, very forward to watching this, which is crazy because I must have saw it as a rerun because this aired in November of 85, which is the same year as WrestleMania 1. I was a fan by the time WrestleMania 2 came around, so it must have been a little after WrestleMania 1 that I started watching. But I just remember being all in on this. And the who's who of who's are on here. The Bulldogs were my favorite tag team. Ricky Steamboat, I left WrestleMania 3 as Ricky Steamboat being my favorite wrestler, but this is a year and a half before that. A year and a half, Bulldogs won the belts at WrestleMania 2 with Ozzy there, so 6 months before that. But I was looking so forward to watching this episode, and I couldn't find a damn thing because I don't have the hookups like the professor does. But here's as you were talking, it hit me, right? So you're in the NBA circle, so there's probably in your area and in my area, it's my local athletes, there are some horrendous commercials with athletes in them because when they read their lines or whenever they do it, the all-time worst commercial athlete for me is my favorite hockey player of all time, Steve Yzerman. he would sit there and go, "Hi, I'm Steve Eiserman." Like he had zero confidence in telling us he was Steve Eiserman, and then it was all downhill from there because that was the one thing he did know he was, right? And it's just a bad acting from that point on. And the new bad actor award goes to greatest worst actor of all time is LeBron James. He's terrible, right? But Hulk Hogan in '84, you have your choice. You can put Hogan there. You could put Slaughter in there, which we've already talked about him. He doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the look, if we're being honest. He looks like someone's grandpa or at least their oldest uncle. And then you got Bob Backlund, who has more charisma as an old man coming back, being a mockery of himself than he actually had when he was just, he looked like your college athlete, right? So
Opie Cunningham.
I think if you're looking at it in hindsight, Hogan was the best guy because he's not winning no damn Oscar. But he on the A-Team specifically, and most of his movies with few exceptions, he's adequate as an actor. Like he's not looking at the camera. He's not, like Bobby Heenan used to do this. I don't know if you've ever seen it. When he did promos with people, he would literally lip sync what they were saying right before he said what he did, which is an old acting thing. You learn the other person's lines. You learn the last line of the guy who talks before you and the first line of the guy who talks after you, so you know when to start and stop.
To get your timing down.
Yes. So Hogan was adequate, and I think if given the choice between Slaughter, Backlund, or throw Steamboat in there, throw Corporal Kirshner, it would have sank. You know what I mean? I love Steamboat. I think Steamboat would have been another guy, was a fish out of water with acting.
Let's go with
comfortable a talker.
Right. Let's go with this scenario here, TW, and follow me before, again, Reflection Nights. We'll get into this episode of the A-Team Body Slam episode from November of 1985 in a couple of minutes. But Hulk Hogan's resume in Hollywood, if you will, was Thunder Lips in 1982 for Rocky 3. So there's no stretch. He's playing a professional wrestler. It's the safest thing. So as an actor, it's not a stretch. He knew how to play a bad guy, and he played a bad guy great. And it's a very memorable scene with Sylvester Stallone. He did a guest star on Saturday Night Live with Mr. T 2 weeks before WrestleMania 1 to promote WrestleMania and also to get the brand awareness of Hulk Hogan's face out there to the main masses, because Mr. T was already a household name thanks to A-Team in part. So, again, no stretch, his comedic...
Rocky.
No. I already talked about Rocky 3, but I'm talking about...
But I'm saying Mr. T's already huge from Rocky and then the A-Team.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But let's focus on Hogan. Hulk Hogan on Saturday Night Live, his comedic timing was pitiful. So all he had to do was still play the wrestler and just let the actors do what they had to do. Like Billy Crystal, he led them and they didn't have to be funny. But they were just, they couldn't keep a straight face. So that was actually, I enjoyed that episode. And then before this episode, remember, 1985, we are introduced to a CBS cartoon on Saturday mornings, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. Do you want to do a Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling to go to the movie?
That's not him, though. That's Brad Garrett. That's not
No, but no, I'm just saying for television.
Absolutely,
I
would do that.
For TV purposes, it's not his voice, but that's the people knowing what he's doing.
But they did do vignettes in between. They did live, like Andre in that tiny car. I remember that. He also did the Girls Who Just Want to Have Fun video, didn't he? With Cyndi Lauper and Lou Albano. Wasn't he in that video? He was in one of those music videos where he might have been like a bodyguard of some kind, shooing people away.
I think
I don't know.
Well, not Cyndi Lauper, but he did something with Dolly Parton. But
he did her.
But again, like we said, Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling, he did those vignettes. He didn't do the voice of himself, but he did the vignettes. But he was playing himself, Hulk Hogan. So now we get into this TW. He's already now Reflection Nights again. If you love the A-Team, please turn this off because I'm going to rail on this episode. Yes, I love the
RJ City. Turn this off.
Okay, and if you love RJ, well, you know what? Before we get into the episode, I gave you certain pointers on where to find this A-Team episode from November of 1985. You went to a review channel called RJ City.
It's called Hollywood Squared Circle, I think it's called.
Okay.
It looks like he just does a bunch of stuff. But RJ City's the guy that did all that stuff with David Arquette to kind of help both of them get discovered. And I think they were doing that. What's that Hollywood wrestling? What's it called? Something NWA Hollywood maybe? Or
Okay, yeah, there's NWA Hollywood out there.
It used to be on TV on Sundays. I would watch it on whatever channel it came on here. The
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
From Hollywood, that's it. Mm-hmm. So RJ City's from there. He's adequate as a wrestler. I thought he was all right, but his YouTube video, it's just a microphone. Mm-hmm. And him, you're staring at him. He's like a dark-haired, less fun Matt Riddle who looks like Stevie Richards in wrestling. But in this video, you just watch it, and he's just destroying it as effeminate as he could possibly be while he's doing, which is fine. But also like with a almost mockery of a Jewish caricature while he's doing it. But I think you said something like he was trying to be sportscaster or whatever, like what he was trying to have but that's not what it came off as. But anyway, he basically just destroys it, says a bunch of stuff about it that I thought he said they would be toddlers if they were in Vietnam. I'm like, oh, they're in their 30s in the mid 80s. How are they going to be toddlers in Vietnam? They would be about 16, 17 or 18 years old, depending on how deep into their 30s. I know he was 33 in 87, so he would have been about 31, 32 in 85. So, but anyway, he just ripped it up, and then he just kept showing still photos, but enough that it reminded me that Bulldog and Steamboat and Quick Rick McGraw, he died not long after this. He died of a heart attack. Quick Rick McGraw was a job guy, McGraw. And the heels were John Studd and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Oh,
and it made me want, it made me even madder that I couldn't watch it. So I kept trying to watching that 6-minute debacle. I tried, just keep looking, and I wasn't able to find the episode. But it's basically the Baywatch episode we did where they saved the beach. It's basically Thunder in Paradise, any episode you want to pick, and it's just basically typical Hulk Hogan.
Yes,
and Body Slam the movie. His face is in it.
Yes, it's typical Hulk Hogan here, but I think if we're going to rank it, A-Team is the gold standard, Baywatch is the bronze. Maybe Thunder in Paradise is the silver. But now let's get... Wow, and he yawned.
Paradise was terrible, and it had Sting in it.
And he yawned when we said Thunder in Paradise. So, he's already disrespecting his childhood idol Sting, too, in the process. But anyway.
Lex Luger is my childhood idol. Lex. That's why I talk with my hands. Lex.
Either or. Tomato, tomato. But anyway, let's get into this A-Team episode from November 1985. And it starts off in supposedly the San Diego Sports Arena. But guess what, TW? And guess what, Reflectionites? The videos of Hulk Hogan's 2 matches did not take place in California. They took place, do you know where they actually took place, TW?
I'm going to go with Madison Square Garden.
Ding, ding, ding. You are so right. Because it's the Mecca. You got to show all your great stuff from the Mecca of professional wrestling. Well, not only the Mecca of professional wrestling, but the Mecca of sports and sports entertainment, Madison Square Garden. And that meant something back then in the 80s. It doesn't mean squat now because the Knicks aren't winning. The Rangers haven't won the Stanley Cup since 94. The Liberty haven't won a championship. So, you need sports teams to make it the Mecca. So it's not the Mecca anymore. And the WWE does not really perform at the Mecca as they had back in the days. It's not Vince McMahon territory. But anyway, the first match as it starts is Hulk Hogan defending the WWF title against Big John Studd, accompanied by Bobby the Brain Heenan. So, TW, we know the history of Hulk Hogan against Big John Studd. Hulk Hogan, the biggest storyline was, can he slam John Studd and get the $10,000? Technically, a lot of people slammed John Studd, but he didn't pay nobody the $10,000. He got slammed so many times, I think he owed interest on it. It was about $150,000. If it wasn't Hulk Hogan who slammed him, it was Andre the Giant. If it wasn't Andre, it was Hillbilly Jim. If it wasn't Hillbilly Jim, it was Uncle Elmer. So he owed about $150,000. So we know how the match would go, TW. Do you remember your glory kid days of Hogan against John Studd? Because, 6'8" Hogan, 302 pounds against 6'10", 374, Big John Studd. John Studd wasn't athletic, but it was, mano a mano. They were at the same, technically the same height, same build. It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was Godzilla versus King Kong. What say you, TW?
When I actually first started wrestling, the feud was actually Andre versus Big John Studd that culminated in that Battle Royal WrestleMania 2 where I believe, did William Perry win it or did he help Andre win it?
No, William Perry helped Andre a little bit, but he didn't help him win it.
Right. So Andre won it.
Yes.
And then, but wasn't it WrestleMania 1 that he body slammed him and took the money?
Yes.
So that's right when I started watching it, because right after that is when Studd, Bundy, and Heenan cut Andre's hair on TV. That was one of the first episodes of TV I ever watched. Don Morocco hung Ricky Steamboat with a belt, and Andre the Giant got his hair cut by Big John Studd, and that was the feud. So for Studd to be with, but I think I told you the sports final edition here in Detroit on Sunday nights, they would play like the best of the week in sports, and Bernie Smilovitz would always show a wrestling clip, and it would always be Hogan versus Andre, or Hogan versus Bundy, Hogan versus Studd, Hogan versus Rude, Perfect, Macho Man. It was always Hogan versus somebody at either the Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden, or something like that. So I was very familiar with John Studd. Ironically, another guy who passed away young, cancer, rest in peace. He was a, one of those things called where they race horses, but they sit in a buggy in the back of it. It's like a ricochet. It's like tiny. I knew what it was called.
He's not a jockey. Well, he's not a jockey because he's too heavy for it.
The horse couldn't carry him, right? But he sat in this little cart. He rode
the stud carts on the horse.
I think it's called harness racing. He did that. Like, that's what he was doing after wrestling.
Oh, really?
He was pretty good at it. And then he unfortunately got cancer and he passed away. But he was somebody, I almost want to say, right in the end, he turned babyface, too. I think he turned on Heenan and was a good guy for, like, a little while, and then he was just done. But,
that was 89. He was supposed to have a program with Andre, so they would do the flip of, good guy, bad guy within the Battle of the Giants, but then the cancer or his injuries caught up with him, so they had to, put the kibosh on that storyline in 89.
Gotcha.
So when you look at this, TW, I mean, we know the history of, again, Hogan against Studd, accompanied by Bobby the Brain Heenan. So all the formalities were there for the supposedly San Diego Sports Arena match that opened. Mean Gene Okerlund is doing commentary, but he's doing commentary where you can hear the speakers. It's like, you're watching the match and he's doing commentary over the PA system while you're watching the match. So you're already distracted by Mean Gene Okerlund. So it doesn't make no sense. And the credits are rolling while Hogan is clotheslining him or John Studd is doing the forearm on his chest in TW. But here's now the logistical part, Reflectionites, and I apologize because I'm nitpicky. But, since we are the YWC, we nitpick everything right now in 2020 Wonder, so we have to nitpick on the A-Team, TW. Now, we remember A-Team is about 4 guys who served in the military, and they become military prisoners. They are felons on the run from the United States government. You're with me, TW, right?
Yes.
Okay, and they're soldiers of fortune, and if you got a problem that you can't go to the police, you can't go to your guidance counselor, you can't go to your parents, who can you call? What did the A-Team charge? I never understood that one.
I think at the end they always didn't charge. They did it for free because it was always some charity case.
How the hell did they sleep then? How the hell did they pay for hotels?
Because if they got them put in prison in the first place.
No. See, there's a difference here. If the A-Team series happened in the 2000s, we can understand cell phones. We can understand computer hacking. That you can have, you can have a bankroll statements and whatever. This is still 1980s. You have the big ass phone. You can do a lot of shit. But here's the logistical part, TW. This is the problem. So now Hulk Hogan. Can we agree here that Hulk Hogan is the number one man in wrestling? Everybody wants him. Hollywood wants him. News reporters want to talk to him. But yet this motherfucker, Hulk Hogan, gives comp tickets to B.A. Baracus and Party. B.A. Baracus is on the name of a sheet. He's part of the felons list. The 10 most wanted list. This man, Hulk Hogan, he better have given a fake name, because if he gave the name B.A. Baracus to the San Diego Sports ticket request booth, then San Diego sports people should be arrested as accomplices. All right, TW, please make me feel better.
Here's where you're going to feel better because you already answered your own question.
Please.
They didn't have technology like that yet.
I know.
So there's no way to know he's there until after he's gone. And I thought you were going with RJ City went. At some point, Hogan body slams John Studd, and the referee just counts to 3 and says he's the winner, but there's no pin, I don't think. And so RJ...
No, he wins by countout. He wins by countout.
Oh, RJ City said he counted to 3 and called him the winner, and there was no pin. He just slammed him, and he called it 1, 2, 3. And he was mad at the thing you said about Mean Gene commentating through the speakers because it never happens, but it always happens in wrestling TV shows. One thing I got to say that's cool about this.
I wasn't mad about that.
No, that's where I thought you were going.
Go.
That's where I thought you were going.
I'm mad at the logistics that a man brings comp tickets to a felon that is wanted by the United States government.
But isn't there a scene where Baracus hops the rail, hits Heenan, and Mean Gene goes, he's trying real hard not to call him Mr. T, and says, that must be Hulk Hogan's friend from Vietnam, and doesn't say his name.
I don't know. I don't remember him saying Vietnam, but he says the mysterious friend of Hulk Hogan's has come to save him because, of course, B.A. Baracus. Number one, you can't say his name, so that was good on Mean Gene's part because if he said B.A.'s name, then it would really been stupid. But number one, B.A. Baracus, you want to be inconspicuous, right, TW? Right. This Mr. T, a.k.a. B.A. Baracus, is wearing a Hulk Hogan hat, Hulk Hogan shirt. He is literally telling the feds and the United States government, I'm here. Please arrest me. I'm Hulk Hogan's friend. This face.
He's like a regular fan in the ring. He's hiding his mohawk, his feather earrings. He's good. I don't think his gold's on his shirt so he can read Hulkamania.
Okay, a 6'5" black man with a mohawk weighing 200.
6'5"?
He's 6'5", yes.
Good Lord, he looks like he's about 5'8" in the wrestling ring with those guys.
I'm 6'5". Let's go 6'2" to 6'5" with the mohawk. 6'2" without it. I
gotta Google that. I gotta Google it.
6'5" with a mohawk, weighing 245 pounds, and you said, and he's a black man with a mohawk, and you think he can't be found out by the police? He can't be found out by the
technology of today.
Okay, with the tech. See, now you're going with the technology of today, but you're telling me that the United States government was that incompetent that they couldn't find him?
Son of a bastard. 5'10". I was closer than you were.
6'5" with mohawk. I told you that.
Also know he's really 5'8" because the 2 inches was embellishing.
Okay, whatever. But anyway, the logistics of that one irked the professor. So now, Hulk Hogan wins by countout. Mr. T is holding the belt. He had the belt while he was watching the match, which is also kind of really ridiculous. It was hokey and ridiculous. Vince McMahon would never allow.
Tag belt?
No, it was the
tag belt. It was the still picture I saw.
No, it was the silver heavyweight title that I love. That I love.
That title, the one that looked like the NWA TV title.
Yes, it looked like
belt.
That is a beautiful belt. So now Hogan wins by countout. So we go on into the next scene, Reflectionites. Now Hulk Hogan has his interview with Mean Gene Okerlund, and Mean Gene, of course, Hogan is doing his spiel, but he's also promoting the big Los Angeles function for a very important charity. And now, after all that, TW, the A-Team meets Hulk Hogan. And again, the acting is so simplistic for Hulk Hogan. All he has to do is act like himself. So another thing that kind of irks the professor is like, this is Hulk Hogan 24/7. He is on 10 all the time. He's like, let me tell you something, brother. Even behind, not when the camera's rolling. This is in real life. So he's like, let me tell you something, brother. So, he's keeping the character going, keeping the kayfabe alive. But he Mr. T introduces the team to Hulk Hogan. And we learn from Hulk Hogan history 101, sometimes Hulk Hogan has this kind of warped memory, but this memory, coincides with Vietnam. So let's say 18 or 19 years old, TW, they both served Nam. And there's a bit of a conflict, a quandary, if you will, in this show. We don't know which guy saved which. We don't know if Hulk Hogan saved Mr. T's life, or we don't know if Mr. T saved Hulk Hogan's life. So this is why they keep arguing with each other during the whole goddamn show. So, TW, what do you think of the chemistry trying to of Hulk Hogan and Mr. T acting wise. Of course, it's simplistic, but of course, it's the comedy part of this.
It's 80s buddy coms, dude. That's Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. It's Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. It's anybody Eddie Murphy.
B.A. Baracus is no Eddie Murphy here.
And hey, Hulk Hogan's no Dan Aykroyd, which is not hard to do.
That's true. Well, Hulk Hogan's doing Nick Nolte. I'll give you that.
Right.
Well, once you said Nick Nolte, I said, okay, he can do a Nick Nolte, but he can't do a Dan Aykroyd. But anyway, neither here nor there. But Hulk Hogan has a problem. And of course, he needs the A-Team's help. Well, it's not because Hulk Hogan has a problem personally himself. He's not in trouble with the government. He's not in trouble with the mafia. He's not in debt to anybody, but he wants to help a friend in need. And I forget her name, but let's call her Karen. So Karen owns and operates a Venice Beach, California boys club. You know?
Dickie Gordon.
That's her name, Dickie?
Yes, Dickie.
What?
I bet you it's Vicky and someone's being funny on here.
Well, we'll call her Dickie because this is the 80s. So Dickie Gordon owns and operates, well, she kind of took it from her father. She owns and operates the Venice Beach, California Boys Club for underprivileged boys. You know, just like Baywatch, you said, TW, Hogan loves the kids and loves the charities, and he needs something to kind of intersect with each other with his charitable work, his image, and boys. You know, this ain't no Michael Jackson pedophile. I know, that's what I'm just saying. I don't know if it's pedophile to catch a predator, have a seat, Chris Hansen kind of thing, but he loves the kids, TW. So, you know, it's an easy formula for Hulk Hogan. I mean, he doesn't want to help, you know, wayward women, prostitutes want to reform themselves, but he wants to help.
He did that once. He showed up at WrestleMania with a black eye.
Oh, yeah, that. Well, he said it was a jet ski accident. Right. Yeah. Whatever's whatever, you know. That's Hulk Hogan history 101 reflection. We know that Hulk Hogan kind of embellishes the truth. So, TW, now we're introduced to the Mafia family of this, the agitators, the Carters. And no, TW, it's not Dixie. It's not Dixie Carter. It's not Jay-Z, Sean Carter, and Beyonce, but it is the Carter family, and they want this Venice Beach, California boys club because there is something very valuable underneath that property. We come to find out that the son, who's really taking over the family business, his father just gets out of prison. He served a 30-year bid. He robbed a bank of gold bars, and it's now worth, by this time in 1985, TW, $1 million, TW. So we got the parameters here, TW. But we've also found out that the Carter family is trying to legitimize themselves. And one way they legitimize themselves is their last name is Carter. But their original name, because they're Italians, you know, the stereotypes, you know how it is. It's not Sopranos, it's Carteros, TW. So what say you, TW, about the whole storyline here with this?
It's cliche. It's everything. The only difference is changing their names, right? But, you know, you got, which I don't remember, again, because the episode was so long ago, 36 years ago almost. You don't know if the dad's like the good guy dad and the son's the little punk who's trying to, you know, take the business over and he's going to do it better, a.k.a. Shane McMahon, or a.k.a. Horrible Bosses 2, where Chris Pine wants to take his dad's job. But, you know, the dad's the nicer of the guy. Or if it's the other way around, where the dad's the cutthroat and the son, I don't remember how it played out, but it's typical, right? You got the damsel in distress. You got Hogan and his buddies got to come save her. And then the stereotypical mafia. Maybe this is when people were starting to get a little bit cancel cultured, and that's why they changed it to Carter, because someone's like, you can't just call them mafia because they're Italians. That's good.
Of course not. But you know what?
Original mafia is Irish, just for the record.
Well, you know, a lot of people will say, no, it's not. It's the Italians, it's Irish, it could be black, it could be Hispanic.
Mickey Spillane is the last Irish mobster because he refused to get into heroin, and once the Sicilians did, that's when he got whacked, and then there was no more Irish mafia. See, the term the mafia is very very poignant because, you know, again, like you said, the parameters are there. The formula is there. So, you know, this ain't like Scarface. This ain't Sopranos. This ain't Goodfellas. But at least for this purposes here, the son,
I will answer your question. The son was trying to legitimize himself, but he still does some shady shit. But the father knows that he wants his money.
He's old school.
He's old school. He wants his gold bars, and he knows that it's worth a lot of money. So they're trying to, get Dickie Gordon. How do you name a woman Dickie? I mean,
I'm saying it's probably Vicky, but someone's being fun here.
No, because remember, the hippies named their girls a lot of trippy names. So Dickie is not out of the norm.
Where'd you come from? Some dick. I started out in the shadow. Some JJ.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat. That's what I keep saying. Reflection. That's whatever floats your boat. But anyway, while they were trying to muscle Dickie Gordon out of the property, of course she refuses, and she has the funny thing about, there was one particular scene that Dickie Gordon is getting her pistol out of the drawer. She points it at the Mafia guys, and then some little black kid opens the door and say, "Hey, Miss Gordon, are you ready for baseball?" It was such a dumb scene, and she says,
"Saved that guy's life."
Yeah, the kid saved the Mafia guy's life, and she's like, go back outside, Johnny. Go back outside. It's okay.
Little Jimmy.
Well, whatever. Little Jimmy. That must have been our truth. That was our truth. That was our truth as the little kid right there, because, our truth has been time. That's what it is. But he's little Jimmy. It's okay. Go ahead. Go play along. But anyway, while the Mafia guys is about to rub Dickie out, that did not sound right.
Whoa.
That did not really sound right. But anyway, I'm going to have to continue this sentence. The Mafia people are going to rub Dickie out. Who comes in and saves the day is Hulk Hogan and B.A. Baracus, the tag team duo. And TW, now we get into those 80s cliche fights. It's 3-on-2, and Hulk Hogan is beating the crap out of the stoolies, out of the goons, throwing them out the window, busting up the office, and of course the car chase scene. Do you remember those in your nice TW Kingdom days?
Thanks to RJ City, I saw still photos of Hogan, Three Stooge and two guys together. BA's got somebody up over his head. They're beating him up. They beat him up on tour. They beat him up at the People's Condo, and they beat him up at the arena.
Of course, but this is the boys' center right now that the first fight happens. So
that's in the staircase.
Yes, that's in the staircase, and and Hogan throws two guys out the window, and of course he's trying to chase the son out. And of course, you know what I love about those. The A-Team did it. Remember Magnum PI did it. Knight Rider did it. Hunter did it in the 80s. Remington Steele, Heart to Heart. It's the car chases. Oh, you didn't think I know about Heart to Heart?
Heart to Heart?
I'm the professor. I know these things in the 80s.
70s influence, Remington Steele, damn it. But Heart to Heart, I know Heart to Heart.
Of course. And of course, don't forget Vegas. But anyway, all these shows have one thing in common.
Antenna.
The car chase scene. And of course, I remember as a kid, my mom, the night.
Beretta.
Okay, now you're going really old school, but that's okay. That's the 70s. But I was going to try to say before I was really interrupted by the nostalgia, which is okay. But anyway.
Oh, you're tired from rubbing out that Dickie.
Oh, whatever. But anyway.
Twice.
I'm trying not to say it, but anyway. I remember as a kid trying to tell my mom, because of course A-Team was the thing. The van was available as a toy. You go to Toys R Us and all that stuff. I didn't.
The Dukes of Hazzard.
I begged for it. I know this. I know I begged for it. I didn't get it. I'm not saying I didn't get everything I wanted for Christmas, but there were certain things I didn't get, and I vividly remember not getting the A-Team. I got Transformers, but I didn't get the A-Team van. Do you remember that A-Team van, as a kid? Wasn't that a cool van? The black van with the red stripes.
Versions of that riding around Detroit to this day. It's the black with the little almost Reebok logo on the side of it with the antenna coming off the bed, the red antenna. And I think it opened up and it was like a computer center or whatever. To answer your question, that's how they would hack money. That's how they got money. And then later seasons, by the way, this is season 4. This is when they're starting to get a little long to jump in the shark area. They added Eddie Velez to replace Double A. You remember Double A? That was Amy. Face always hit on her. She was their hookup for everything. And probably their benefactor is, now that we're talking about it out loud, she was the one with Bunny who kept them afloat because she was the one who hired them to be the whatever, you know, like got them their jobs or whatnot. And then I think she might have left in a contract squabble. Then Eddie Velez got put on there, and his name was A something. So he had two different double A's. But then they both ended up being on there, and I think in the last season. But that's where they got their money, was from double A Amy. I'm not talking about Lita.
Well, you know, of course, the A-Team has got to find a way to not make a living, but to live for another day, to survive. Because, again, every service that they did, they didn't get paid. We already have established that. So,
and Face was a con man. He was always conning people out of stuff.
Absolutely. So, you know, we'll talk about that. You know, the characteristics of the A-Team. B.A. Baracus was the muscle. George Papard, Hannibal, was the leader, but also he did costume changes. He was the,
and I was going to answer your question. The opening of this thing, he's dressed as a popcorn vendor to make sure there were no federal agents in there before they went to their seats.
Yeah,
That's
but
how they didn't get caught.
You really think that being dressed as a popcorn vendor as a lookout? When I told you that B.A. Baracus was right there saying, please arrest me. He was the most visible felon I've ever seen in my life. I could give you Face, Dirk Benedict. He was very vanilla plain, and that's not being racist. He was very vanilla with his suit and stuff. But George Papard, yes, he did dress as a popcorn vendor trying to be the lookout. Yeah, Reflection Nights. Yeah, he was the greatest lookout I ever seen in my life. So the chase scene.
Cigar.
Right. The chase scene ends, and of course, you know, they couldn't get the bad guys in the first scene, and we go into commercial break. So again, TW, we talk about the characteristics of the A-Team, and Dirk Benedict is a very prominent key figure of the A-Team as Face. And of course, they try to do these little things here. So they try to get some information. They try to get the reason why, you know, the Carter family, a.k.a. the Carteros, want this property so goddamn bad. So they got to go into the yacht. You know, the son has a yacht business. He sells yachts on his days off. He's a 24/7 yacht salesman. And anyway, you know, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, they don't do no disguises. They just go in as Hulk Hogan and B.A. Baracus trying to get answers, you know, forcefully, which is funny as shit here. And of course, Face and Murdoch are the ones behind the scenes, being the reporter and the cameraman. So of course, that's being indescribable, you know, inconspicuous, if you will. So, you know, of course, the talents of the A-Team come out here twofold. So while we learned that, you know, people on this yacht party are still giving money to Hulk Hogan's charity because, you know, Hulk Hogan is the man. You know, we learned a lot of things. We learned about the Cortero family, the Carter family, who's really the Cortero family. We learned about the motives of the Cortero family and why this property is so valuable, a.k.a. the gold bars. But now let's go into one of these scenes that you just talked about here, where the Cortero family are trying to rub out, I hate using the word rub out, but this is the Mafia, but they're trying to rub out Hulk Hogan and Mr. T because they don't want Hulk Hogan to even make it to the charity event, TW. So they trap Hulk Hogan. Well, they figure they're trapping Hulk Hogan and Mr. T at a gym. Wow. Okay. Now this is where it gets funny. The Mafia thinks they got the upper hand on Hulk Hogan and Mr. T at a gym. Lo and behold, this gym belongs to Hulk Hogan, or this gym belongs to the WWF, because in this gym, we got the British Bulldogs. We got Corporal Kirshner. We got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And like you said, we got Quick Draw McGraw to ambush the Mafia goons, TW. So, again, the presence...
And they enjoyed it.
And they enjoyed beating the shit out of the Mafia. You know, the funniest thing is, you know, there's a lot of I'm not going to say realism here, but, you know, back before the curtain was, you know, blown out the door, TW. You know, 10 years later. Well, I don't know if it's 10 years. I would say 4 years later. Because in 89, Vince McMahon called it sports entertainment officially. That was the year.
Yeah, but he didn't say it was fake till he went on trial for the steroids, which was 92, 93.
Well, that's debatable because 89 people, even Vince McMahon said it was scripted. So he even said that in 89. So, but anyway.
Damn you, Vince.
But again, before all that stuff, before the curtain was peeled back, you know, the mystique of a wrestler in real life is you wanted to pick people wanted to pick fights with wrestlers because wrestlers were tough guys. If you saw them at a bar, maybe to impress your girlfriend, you wanted to beat up the wrestler. So this gym fight, well, that too. And Shawn Michaels got his ass beat by 9 Marines. But anyway, this is actually realism because wrestlers want to keep that kayfabe, want to keep that mystique about themselves. They got to fight no matter what. It was not in your contract, but it was in writing because if you lost, it was understood. If you lost a fight to a common person, a fan or just a regular Joe Schmo, if people found out that you lost that fight, you were gone from that territory. What say you, TW, about the fight in the gym? Because that actually is something true to life that wrestlers had to go through. What say you?
It's part of the old don't start nothing, won't be nothing. But if you start it, they'll finish it. And I think I would tell you the story about Irish Mickey Doyle. Me and him just celebrated 10 years on Facebook, which I am currently smack dab in the middle of a 7-day ban. But anyways, I digress. He was NWA Rookie of the Year in 1972 or 70 or 71, one of them. Anyways, he did the territories here, obviously, and they had a couple guys who called themselves Hell's Angels here in Detroit. And the Hell's Angels in Detroit found out that there was 2 guys wrestling as Hell's Angels in Detroit, so they went to the shows, and they befriended these guys. And they said, hey, what chapter you guys from the Hell's Angels? And they're like, oh, we're from California. Again, no Facebook, no Google, no none of that. So for months, these guys hung out with these guys. And just like in the plot of a movie, guess what happened?
What?
An L.A. Hell's Angel came to visit the Detroit Hell's Angels and said, we have no idea who the fuck those 2 guys are. So one day, these are friends now, bona fide, hang out with them for months after every show, basically let them in their clubhouse, and while they were in this territory, they were Hell's Angels in Detroit.
They got conned?
Beat the fuck out of both of them, and I want to say one of them possibly was murdered, the other one escaped, or they both escaped, but one escaped before the very serious ass whooping that the other one took.
Oh, wow.
For faking being Hell's Angels.
The wrestlers?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
2 wrestlers. So remember how the DOA was just fake bikers, but they didn't call themselves the Renegades or the whatever real biker gang. These 2 dudes called themselves Hell's Angels, probably not knowing there was a Detroit Hell's Angels, right?
Right.
But just like Sons of Anarchy, there's Sam Crow everywhere, damn it. Sam Crow's a way of life. But they, for months, hung out with these guys, if not a year. And then when they found out, beat the shit out of at least one of them. And like I said, I don't think they murdered one, but one of them got away, like ran out the door while they were fucking with the other one. But they beat the shit out of them for imitating Hell's Angels for however long they did. And they took it personal because they felt duped. They let these guys in thinking they were already members, right? They bypassed. They AJ Styles them. They went right to WWE. Didn't even have to stop in NXT on the way to get hazed. And so, but stuff like that, you get your ass kicked by the Hell's Angels. Obviously, you're leaving the territory. You ain't coming back ever again.
Absolutely.
But if they would have just got their ass beat by somebody in the front row, the fucking Hell's Angels would have probably beat their ass for getting their ass beat by a regular guy, let alone, the indie promotion going, we can't book you. A fan kicked your ass. You got to go. Come back
Absolutely.
with a mask.
And that was, like I said, that was so true to life because even though that, again, it was a little hokey that they were in the gym, they weren't pumping iron. The lights were off. This was the funny thing. It was supposed to be a surprise.
Travis will tell you, that's what we did in Lima. We got hammered and slept in the gym. Al Snow's school. We just slept in the ring.
Well, considering the people that were in the gym, you would think the Dynamite Kid was already plastered, so that's why the lights were off. Davey Boy Smith, again, God bless him and God rest his soul, but he was snorting. Ricky Steamboat probably was the designated driver, so he was the one that had to be up. And I don't know what Corporal Kirshner did, but who knows? Maybe Corporal Kirshner was. I've heard stories about Corporal Kirshner, and it always about him butt naked. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, they beat up the Mafia goons again. He rubbed his own dicky.
Rub out the dicky.
He rubbed out his own dicky. But anyway, neither here nor there. But again, Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, and now the WWF beat the shit out of the Mafia goons. Again, now I got to go logistics now, TW. Now, you're beating up Mafia goons. Your WWF brethren are beating up Mafia goons. Now, in the annals, the code of the streets or the code of the Mafia, you beat up your guys. The leader, which is the son or the father, must send a message to Hulk Hogan. And it usually is not about beating somebody up. It's usually it's murder. It's drive-bys. So Hulk Hogan, your number one guy, is a target to be, again.
I know what happened.
What?
This was filmed in Canada where they had no guns.
It's not Los Angeles, supposedly. It is Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada in the summertime. Right?
Nice.
Right.
Nice. No Jericho reference.
But, Mafia people are supposed to shoot out, their enemies. So Hulk Hogan being so visible that absolutely TW. So, logistically, am I nitpicky? Because this is what the Mafia is supposed to do. They're supposed to, drive by Hulk Hogan's house, his condo in Venice Beach, California, and just shoot the windows out. He's supposed to send a message. This was a weak-ass Mafia. What say you, TW, before we get to the next scene?
The weakest. That's why the son was trying to go legit, because he knew. He's like, we're a bunch of bitches when it comes to being Mafia. We gotta get legit so we can hire security.
Well, now they're digging deeper. So Hannibal forces Face to volunteer to infiltrate the FBI again. Here we go, TW, with my logistics that I hate. He assigns Face to go into the lion's den of the
That's
federal...
what he was. He was the disguise guy. That's what was Face's job.
He's the disguise.
Not disguise, but undercover.
But TW, even in the stills of the RJ City review, the man had no disguise. Glasses is not a disguise. I'm sorry. You're not as...
Well, people from knowing Clark Kent, Superman.
They're retarded. I said it. Yes.
He changed the side part, though, too.
Yeah, yes. But anyway, glasses are not a disguise. No way in hell. But he is going into the lion. Well, that too. But anyway, he goes into the lion's den of the FBI. Not only he steals the FBI agent's wallet with his ID and badge, he also gets the information that he needs about the Carter family, a.k.a. the Cotero family. So now they plot a scheme to get the Cotero family to actually, trick him or whatever. Try to, reclaim the gold and all this stuff. So Hannibal, in his disguises, well, he had no disguise. He turned into the rogue FBI agent himself. So he forces Murdoch to shovel in the ground, and they find a casing, which everybody believed was the gold bars that were worth $1 million in 1985. But lo and behold, they pulled a fast one on the Cotero family. It was the ha note. It's not here now. It's somewhere else. But with all this happening, the army comes in and they finally catch the wanted felons of the A-Team. So this is where it gets funnier at the moment. Now Hulk Hogan, he's not arrested for being an accomplice. He goes about his merry way because he's got a big, important charity event. He has to defend the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship against Greg the Hammer Valentine at the Los Angeles Sports Arena, which, when you see the footage, it's from Madison Square Garden. So Mean Gene does what he does best. He does the commentary over the PA system. He literally says that Hulk Hogan is off his game. TW, only on the A-Team and only in No Holds Barred where Hulk Hogan was off his game when certain things are getting into his head. What say you about Hulk Hogan's acting ability? And this is where wrestling is real. He's worried about his friend, his Vietnam buddy, B.A. Baracus. He's worried about the A-Team because they're in jail right now. So what say you, TW? We don't get this. This is real good storylines for wrestling. Why don't we have this in 2020 Wonder?
Watch Hogan's acting. That's why. It's terrible.
Yes,
especially No Holds Barred. You're going to throw No Holds Barred in there, and that's a couple years later.
Well,
he better.
Wasn't he more refined?
You know what his best was? Andre, brother, why, brother? The cross, brother. I'm bleeding. That's his chops right there. And that's the best of the three, is the Hogan responding to Andre ripping his necklace off.
Well, you gotta credit Vince McMahon for the acting coach abilities of himself. That's what it is. But while Hulk Hogan is having troubles, defending his title against Greg the Hammer Valentine, Murdoch impersonates him. He's a man of thousand disguises too. He's now a general. He's the youngest general in U.S. Army history. He fools the military police. He springs out the A-team, and they all bolt to the Los Angeles, quote unquote, the Los Angeles sports arena to get there in time while Hulk Hogan overcomes all the odds and successfully defends the title against Greg the Hammer Valentine. But that was not the story. The story was the Cortero family was there to steal the charity money that was in this bag. And now here's my logistics nitpicking again. The Cortero family goes backstage. There is no security, TW. They find the room, the ticket office booth, or the counting room. Let's call it the accounting room. They take the bag of money. It's like Goodfellas. It's like Casino. They take the bag of money and they don't choose to go out the back exit. They choose to go out the front curtains to go to the ring and find a way to get out. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T sees this, and now they chase the Cortero goons back again to the aisles and back to the backstage area, TW, for the main event fight. It's Hulk Hogan. It's Mr. T, B.A. Baracus. Its face is Hannibal, and it's Murdoch against the Mafia, the whole Cortero family. The
unarmed Mafia.
The unarmed Mafia, the Corteros, the son, the father, and the goons. And of course, it's a 5-man tag team, as Hannibal says. What say you about the final action?
Murdoch. Murdoch asked if there was 5-man tag matches.
No, it was Hannibal.
It was Hannibal?
It was Hannibal.
They said he lied.
Murdoch, what Murdoch did was, he was on a catwalk. He saw the goon and he jumped down.
I remember
that was his pivotal moment in the fight. His big finish.
Yep.
And every fight that Hulk Hogan had, he had 3 fights with the Mafia dudes, TW. He had to do the headbutt. He had to get 2 guys on both arms. He had to get the Stooges and do the headbutts not once, not twice, but 3 freaking times, TW. What say you about the fight sequences in this and any 80s action show?
It's funny you say that, because yesterday afternoon, actually, I watched a movie that I'd never seen before, but I also had never heard of, because Gooch sent me an Instagram message, and I was going to do my unauthorized Instagram messages where you have to allow them to go through.
Okay.
And Gooch sent me an Instagram post from Streets of Fire. And I'm like, what's this? And I'm like, that looks like Diane Lane. And she's singing. And it turns out there's a movie called Streets of Fire with Diane Lane, who's the main girl in The Outsiders, and Michael Paré, who is Eddie from Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh, I remember that movie.
Professor, when I tell you this is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life, I am not lying to you. And I saw it and thought, this is before Eddie and the Cruisers, I think. But my buddy Mark today told me he thinks it's in between Eddie and the Cruisers, too. It is terrible acting. It is terrible writing.
Over the walk side.
Movie. That's good. That's why I watched it.
That's Eddie and the Cruisers.
Right. This is Streets of Fire. It's got nothing to do with it. He's not the singer. Diane Lane is. And she gets kidnapped by, of all people, William Dafoe, who every time I see him, he gets uglier. And I would have thought a younger William Dafoe would be a better-looking William Dafoe. He's worse. And
what did she sing?
This gay biker, overalls,
You mean Village People?
Waiters. It's leather with straps on. He's walking around no shirt. And you're like,
Village People.
You can have a girl. Yeah,
Village People.
It was horrible. But every single fight, John Saxon's in it. There's so many people in it before they did anything, right? Surprised they survived it. Swings their arm, gets blocked, and then punched and thrown over the staircase. Every single person got eliminated from the Royal Rumble. It was like, come on. I'm like, people would die. And they got guns and they got knives and they're swinging sledgehammers like they're Triple H. So I'll take the 3 headbutts over this, because hip tossing people off the stairs. First of all, if you're that bad at a fight, that one punch gets blocked and you're tossed over the staircase, you wouldn't have been out there throwing one punch. You'd have been running the other direction.
Well, you know what's funny? Because the opening credits of A-Team, there's a lot of gunplay. There's a lot of machine guns. There's a lot of
shot.
There's a lot. See, that's what I'm about to say. No one's ever been shot. No one can shoot. No one. No one gets hit.
They're also trained by the stormtroopers.
But the only thing consistent about an A-Team episode.
Whoa.
No, not ass to mouth.
Rubbing the dicky out.
Not ass to mouth. But anyway, the consistency of an A-Team episode, I got it out, is a car flipping over. A car jumping and a car flipping over.
One in Streets of Fire.
Yeah.
They're going to pay, and then it flips over and hits a building.
But it's funny that this particular episode, there was no car flipping over. There was a car jump, but there was no car flips. Nothing.
Knievel was in that one. He landed it.
That's the bad thing about it, because I guess they wanted to protect Hulk Hogan very, very prestigiously here. They wanted to treat him like royalty. I mean, he was in the freaking van, TW. They did the jump one with him supposedly in the car, but they did not want to do a car crash. So, I felt a little bit cheated. But anyway, they beat up the goons. They recovered the charity money. So not only is now the Venice Beach Boys Center is saved because of this charity donation from Hulk Hogan and the World Wrestling Federation. And they end this episode.
Are they saying World Wrestling Federation in that?
No, she just says WWF.
But I'm saying it's because Body Slam
Mean Gene's on the PA calls it the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion.
But they don't call it that in No Holds Barred, do they? Isn't it something else in No Holds Barred?
No, I think they just say they go World Heavyweight Champion. I think they just keep it.
But they don't call it WWF because it's New Line Cinema doing it, not.
Yeah, but the belt is so synonymous with WWF, you already know what it is. It was the Winged Eagle belt, so it didn't matter there. But they got the money. The money is given to the Boys Center, and now it could run forever. And we end the A-Team episode, Body Slam, with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T at the boardwalk. And Mr. T has been asking Hulk Hogan since Vietnam, ain't you afraid of anything? Hogan said, I ain't afraid of nothing, brother. You ain't afraid of snakes? T says this. Are you afraid of snakes? No, brother. Are you afraid of the dark? No, brother. What the hell are you afraid of? And then at the end, Hulk Hogan says, want to know what I'm afraid of? And then B.A. Baraka says, I knew you was afraid of something. I knew it. He says, I'm afraid of what I'm going to do when I throw you over this boardwalk and into the water. And they ended with them wrestling. We don't know who goes into the water, but my money says they both.
IC belt.
No, they both go into the water, and the credits play.
And then they make out.
And they rub one out. They rub their own dickies. So we end the
game of tummy sticks.
So this has been a great episode, nostalgic-wise. But logistic-wise, I have given you proof, positive evidence that they should have been arrested. They should have been court-martialed. Hulk Hogan should have been killed by the Mafia.
Hold on. They did get arrested. You got what you wanted. They just escaped again.
No. Again, remember this. Now they're back at the Los Angeles Sports Arena. This is going on where the cops arrested the Mafia guys, but the cops didn't arrest the guys who already escaped from the FBI.
Different cops. The military was looking for the agents.
Is it the jurisdiction?
Not the beat cops. Yeah, it's jurisdiction.
It's the jurisdiction.
Rub one jurisdiction out.
It's the green lines of jurisdiction in California that makes no goddamn sense. That's my logistical nightmare with this freaking episode. So much that, again, like I said, Hulk Hogan should have been murdered because he toyed with the Mafia. It should have been a drive-by attempt at least 3 times against him. What say you, TW, about remembering your childhood memories of A-Team Body Slam episode as we close out?
I want to say that was a very, very big hit episode. Like, it drew well. Mm-hmm. And I want to say Hogan ended up on one more episode, but like almost like a cameo, like not in it, but just like.
I think he was there twice. He was there twice. I don't know if this was the second time or this was the first time. I can't recall that.
I'd say this was the first one because if it aired in November of '85, they probably shot it around the time WrestleMania was happening in March of '85.
Right.
So they probably did 2 birds, 1 stone type thing. But I
or
want
they might have
sued for it.
No, because if they go with the Hollywood schedule TW, they would have shot this in June or July of '85, so it could be played.
I meant right after WrestleMania in the summertime is when they're going to film for airing in the fall. But that's what I mean. Like but season 4 seems a little long in the wind to finally have Hogan on there, because season 84 would have been season 3, right? When Hulkamania was born. 83 was Rocky 3. So maybe they just weren't. Maybe it wasn't until they became friends legit when they did the wrestling stuff in '85. So it has to be the first one. There's no way. And when was the first Saturday Night's Main Event? Probably the fall of '85.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was a
season thing.
Yeah, it was actually a perfect storm. I hate to use that word, as I said it here for the last couple of episodes. It was the perfect storm for the WWF and Vince McMahon. It all felt right there for him. Hulk Hogan's the man. He's on NBC television. He's on The Tonight Show. He's on Saturday Night Live. He's on Today Show. He's doing all this press, and TW and Vince McMahon got what he wanted. He got the face of WWF, and he got the brand awareness, TW. So let's go with the logistics of the wrestling business, because, a lot of people within the territories, like the World Class and the Vern Gagnes, they rub their, they put their nose up at what Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon Jr. was doing. But I guess, you and I see the bigger picture, and certain wrestlers, even in the territories, like, Michael Hayes said, I understood why they were doing what they were doing, why Hulk Hogan was being partnered up with Mr. T, because, of course, it was supposed to be for the betterment of the business. But there's these old guys who are so old school to the bone that they did not see the bigger picture. What say you as we close out this movie episode of the PWR Podcast?
Hogan's not in my Mount Rushmore. Hogan's he's not someone I dislike, like the internet turned on him.
You mean acting?
10 years.
You mean acting Rushmore?
No. But I honestly think if there's no Hulk Hogan, I don't think he was the right guy at the right time, but I don't think Vince does it without Hogan. I don't think Hogan does it without Vince, because he was in AWA and didn't do it, and Vince was with other people and didn't do it. But the two of them together, and I think stuff like this is the reason why Hogan, it's like Cena. Cena will do anything and everything that is asked of him and does it, right? Doesn't complain, doesn't sleep. He lives for the business, and so I think Hogan did that. And obviously there's a little bit of it living for yourself, but I think Hogan's perfect for this show. He's perfect for No Holds Barred if you're going to make a wrestling movie. He's because of Thunderlips, really. He was perfect for Thunderlips. You put anybody else in there. I want to say I had just recently found out.
If you put Ricky Steamboat from Thunderlips to A-Team that he's next to Mr. T, it wouldn't work. Doesn't work because he's almost smaller than Peck, face. Right.
But Hogan's a monster, but with charisma. There's been a million monsters come and go. God bless Lex Luger. Everyone thought he was finally the guy that was going to be the next Hulk Hogan. Didn't have the charisma. He had it for me. He made fans, but not like Hogan, not like Cena, not like Rock, not like Austin. Those guys are next level. And I wouldn't even put Flair in there because Flair's more heel heat. People love him now. People did not love him in his heyday. They hated him, right? There's a difference.
Well, the women loved him. The yuppies loved him.
Asses in the seats to see him get beat up. People came to see Hogan beat people up. They came to see Rock. They came to see Austin. They came to see the Warrior even. But the Warrior had charisma. He just didn't have the love for the business. I mean, I think that's what's missing from that guy. He was there for the money, just like Goldberg, and they burn out.
You're very right because of the charismatic nature that Hogan brings in '85. So if you flipped it, let's say if Ric Flair did this episode, being what you just said, he's heel heat, it probably would draw a rating, but it just wouldn't have that impact that Hogan had.
Everything Flair does, you said it, especially the Baywatch episode. The Baywatch episode, these 900 commercials he's doing with LA Night. That's my favorite guy, by the way. He is Ric Flair. He's literally just cutting a Ric Flair promo that we've all heard a million times. He did it on Baywatch. He did it on those commercials. He's a one-trick pony, right? He's not going to be able to do the little tussle and tussle at the beach with
the dicky rub,
the ending crazy. He doesn't have that endearingness to him. Hogan is almost a gentle giant, right? Like here's another thing about him, because he's always getting his ass kicked by Stud, Bundy, and then finally Andre. He was, for 6'9", he was an awesome underdog too. Like he was someone you sympathize with when he was getting his ass kicked, and that's why when he started doing this shit, people were all in. And there's only two other guys that had that, and that's Ricky Morton and Daniel Bryan. People hated seeing them get their ass kicked, and just an ounce of life, like that hand dropping and then Hogan doing his finger like that, the place ignited because they were happy their guy was finally going to stop getting his ass kicked.
And he did that in the A-Team episode against Greg Valentine while he was defending the heavyweight championship.
And I'll say this is what I said. People just heel on the guy. He asked you with a small package. That's enough for me. But Hulk Hogan is a great worker, and maybe because he's not doing hurricanranas, or someone posted on the Hustle page, like, I don't know if they thought it was impressive. It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen, not called the dick toss, where the Japanese guy springboards onto the rope and then goes up to the rafters and slides over and then drops in the ring and does a hurricanrana on the guy waiting for him in the ring. And I think Meltzer tweeted it out, and someone put it on the Hustle page, and it's like, wow, this is out of there. Yeah. Some guy's just going to stand there and watch him and then wait for him to drop down and give him the hurricanrana. Like, there was nothing about it. That's the new generation.
That's the new generation, brutal. TW. It is very brutal.
Is what it is.
So, TW, now I'm going to grade this episode of the 18 Body Slam episode. So, I'm going to try to merge my nostalgia with my nitpicking, because I got to be fair. To be fair here, I am the most objective man in the IWC. So I'm going to merge it together with the nostalgia of my kiddom, because I was 8 years old. But rewatching this again, knowing all the logistical flubs that I had issues with, I'm going to give it a C+, B-. What would you give this grade of this 18? John Cena. Ruthless aggression, John Cena.
Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And my new gym.
And he could win the NXT championship very soon.
So I would give it. I'm gonna shock you.
Okay.
It's an A+.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna fight with you.
The reason I'd probably given that is just because after talking about this, I still am mad that I didn't get to rewatch it. I know when I rewatch it, I'm gonna tell you, I don't remember what I gave Body Slam, but I love that movie. That movie is exactly what it should be. It's I like the fact that both of them portray wrestling as real, and charitable, and like good guys are really good guys and bad guys are despicable. I love it. It's the perfect thing, especially for a 12-year-old me. 85 November. I'm 13 at that. No, 12. I'm 12. It's perfect. It's family friendly. I'd let my kids watch it. It's harmless, right? And the good guys win in the end. And like I said, to this day, my favorite match I ever had was against Kid Copperpot in front of a bunch of people that weren't wrestling fans but knew enough to cheer the bad guy and boo the good guy, which made it easier for me to be a good guy, because trust me, I never wanted to be one. But they cheered me because they hated my opponent. I just like it. It's feel good. It's worth watching. It's worth doing a show like this on it. There are some terrible shit out there that just says wrestling doesn't mean I'm going to like it. But like I said about The Wrestler, I appreciate it way more when we reviewed it than I did when I watched it when I was actually wrestling all the time, because I felt like it felt more like an insult to the business. But 10 years later, now that's exactly what the business is, and sadly,
and this is the beauty. Yeah. Right. This is the beauty of why we do what we do here at the PWR Podcast. So you know what? Let's close this out, TW. Give out those socials so we can get out of here, because, I'm already full from all the stuff we had at the movies and all the exotics that Greenpeace 420 gave us. Give out those socials.
All right. So the show is at PW Reflection on the Twitters, at Big Ray Hernandez, the guy that makes it all happen for us. Mine is at the Tommy Wonder or at Tommy Wonder 19. My Snapchat is Number Wonder. I have Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder, which is, by the time this airs, my suspension will be over. And then my next one is 30 days.
Don't persecute TW on the Facebook.
And then our good man JB, who actually for the first time in months wrote in our group text and said something, and Ray didn't even know who he was. We had to reintroduce him. That's JB is at VP1JB. And then, of course, the Dum Dum Duo and an idiot YouTube video. We got 3 videos planned coming up soon. We're getting endorsed by other YouTubers that do the same dumb shit that we do. And then also, we got to obviously give credit to Big Vito Brand. So bigvitobrand.wixsite.com or patreon.com/thebigvitobrand.
And of course, you can follow me on my Twitter at PWHustle, PROF. That's PWHustle Prof. Also, follow us on the PWHustle YouTube page. This will be on the PWHustle YouTube page where you can see our beautiful faces. And of course, shout outs to my PWHustle brothers in arms, Mr. Infinite Fringe himself, Billy Ray Valentine at OB1 You Know Me, and the king of the reactions, 8-Track Brown at 8-Track Dashley. Don't know what we're going to do next week, TW. We might... You know, we're going to go back to episodic episodes. We might pick a WWE show. We might do an NWA show. We might do USWA, Mid-South, AWA, ECW. What brand do you feel like doing an episodic episode if we could find one?
You know, we always do the USWAs, and it's always Lawler. Let's do one that's not focused on Lawler.
So you want a 91 in Texas without Lawler?
Flex Cabana.
Oh. No, Lawler did that. I can find Flex Cavania versus Jerry Lawler.
Fine.
Okay.
We're going to do it. Let's do Lawler. It's not that I don't like Lawler. Just everything's always Lawler.
Let's try to find a USWA without a Lawler. You're putting me on the spot, but you know what? The professor always delivers. We'll do a episodic US...
If there's a Flex Cabana versus Lawler, let's do that one. And just do that episode.
Okay, I will try to find one. I will try to find that one because that's around 96. 95, 96, where Flex Cavana, a.k.a.
That's towards the end. Don't tell nobody, man. That's why I said Flex Cavana.
They know who it is. If you're a wrestling fan, you know. That's why I'm the professor. But anyway, spoiler alert, Flex Cavana, a.k.a. Rocky Maivia, a.k.a. The Rock, a.k.a. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the richest man in Hollywood right now, and the next president in maybe 2028. But anyway... We'll see what we can do episodic-wise. I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful TW, a.k.a. Calavera Cortez, saying good night, and we will see you next time. And say the words of Mr. T to close out.
I pity the fool, and I love my mama.
There you go. Good night, Reflectionites.